Hello,
Hey, what's up, man?
going on?
Not much. Just over here, got me a getting a laser pointer while I was there
Nice, nice.
for the 9 mil. So, in case things get crazy for real.
Yeah, crazy times, bro.
Yeah, man, it's something else.
Yep.
It's actually something I guess I've been kind of looking forward to, if that makes sense.
Ah,
A little
yeah, I could understand
chaos.
that. Yeah,
Some chaos, man. Everyone sick of working all the time and living whatever well, not even the masses, I meant to say the media tells you is
y-
living.
yeah. Sometimes change is a good thing, and it could seem scary and could seem negative and overwhelming in the moment, but change is ultimately a positive thing, and I'm optimistic about the changes that are happening. The potential for bad changes happening is definitely there and scary, but just trying to be positive in these you know unsettling times.
Yeah, I'm kind of amped up about it. So
So are we on the show right now?
yeah, it starts recording
Oh, okay.
this thing. Yeah, it's just get straight on it. And
Oh, okay, okay.
but yeah, you were talking about flamenco. Now,
Yeah.
what caught my interest was the whole chronology of the Bible itself.
Mm-hmm. Flamenco is a very, very interesting and controversial writer, and if you were to go to his Wikipedia, they straight up say it's pseudoscience and that it's not history. But with that said, he is from the mathematics world and the astronomy world. He's a top notch mathematics professor who began dating historical writings based on their astronomical information, and that could mean an eclipse or a full moon or a harvest moon or even like the ages where there's the age of Taurus,
Yeah.
Aries, Pisces, etc. That's the sun rising in front of a certain constellation, and that changes over the years. And a lot of like biblical writings and other historical writings contained astrological references, and those are usually mentioned in the mythological sense, like, oh, what was their astrology about, like, oh, Osiris resurrecting through Horus, or they talked about the legends, but they didn't talk about the timekeeping, because astrology, saying, this is in that and this happened here, that's actually astronomy, and that's actually accurate timekeeping if somebody were to recalculate, or go back from our current astronomical picture, and that's the essence of Fomenko's work. Uh, but man, it's controversial because a lot of stuff is different. At Like, say for instance, Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius, that supposedly erupted and covered Pompeii in volcanic ash. It's a famous
Yep.
historical thing that supposedly happened in 79 AD. But what I found out through Fomenko is that on the walls of those buildings were etchings of knights in like shining armor style armor with the visors that could lift up and down. And those are from the medieval period, more from like the 1200s AD, the Robin Hood days. So that's like 1,000 years off, more than 1,000 years misdated. And
Okay.
same with like composite bows, like archery, where you know how a bow and arrow, it's shaped like a C. The wood part is shaped like a C with a string connecting the ends. A composite bow is when it bends inwards again on the top and bottom. And there's Egyptian hieroglyphics of those, but those weren't supposedly invented till the medieval period, also till like the 1200s and the 1300s. So there's a lot of confusing things to look at, where Fomenko's shedding some light on these otherwise mysterious things through a new, I guess, chronological map, a new historical outlook, and it's way different than the the collegiate education system
Yeah,
historical outlook. It's way different.
guess you can call them like gatekeepers because they always do that. They always make, I don't know, when someone else comes in and says, "Hey, check this out," and I guess what like how they talk about the ancient world and how they say the technology was actually superior to what we have now,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah,
they like to call that pseudoscience too. So I totally get that. You're always going to be shunned by those gatekeepers there anyway.
yeah, and they definitely are gatekeepers in this sense. They they aren't just dummies. They know this stuff and they keep it for themselves. You know what I mean? So they're not just, and that's a clever alibi for a lot of like people that don't like conspiracy type subjects. They're like, oh, they're just too dumb. They just don't know better. And no, I don't feel that way. I feel they know they know, and those books in the Vatican Library, and you know what I mean, stuff like that.
Yeah, the stuff we don't see.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a lot of it too.
yeah,
And ultimately, man, it's pretty much what about control anyway. Keeping people under wraps, under so to speak.
yeah. There's definitely that level of it. Um, I know you're one of my friends that's like into the deeper levels of the meaning of life and stuff like that. And I got into that. When a lot of people get into this stuff, they get mad and they see the control system all around them, which was previously, intangible. And a lot of people get into that mad phase. And I went through that also. I was very mad, but I kept going, and I kind of grew to look at the powers that be like a babysitter to be outgrown
Hmm.
instead of a dictator to be murdered.
There you go.
If you want to stay up late, you don't kill your babysitter, you outgrow your babysitter, and then you could stay up late. And I kept going, and I feel that a lot of people in conspiracy theorism didn't keep going. I feel that was a pitfall, the negativity of it. And I can understand that. I'm not judging them. I was there too. And everybody's story is unique and unto their own. But my
Definitely.
advice would be, I would encourage somebody to keep going, because there is more beyond that negative spot.
It
The trail keeps going.
it just gets deeper, man. Cause I
It gets it gets deeper, and that's how I've come to feel about the control system. Where yeah, it could be, you could look at it in a very negative way, but it's also like a platform for us to experience upon, because as twisted and strange as it gets, it's still here, and society hasn't collapsed yet. Even though it's only a snowflake away from the avalanche,
uh-huh.
it's still, somehow it's still here.
Yeah, you
And
that's
that's the platform that we live on, and that's a good thing. Without existence, we don't exist.
That's definitely true, man. Because if you just how my whole spiritual thing went, man, it was really confused. I'm trying to figure out, kind of trying to make sense of it all, and ultimately, I felt like you said I got kind of mad because I couldn't find like just something to. And eventually, I figured out that it's almost like a joke being played on you,
Hmm.
and you have to like actually be able to laugh at it because this whole time you're looking for something is right there, like right. You're basically what you're looking for. You just have to realize what I don't know. I guess how everyone comes into it is different, but you ultimately have to, I guess, kind of see the face of God and know where it's at. Because they don't, no one, even if someone came, you wouldn't believe it. It's one of those things you have to find yourself,
Yes.
which is a good analogy because that's basically all you find anyway is yourself.
Ah, yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah, you're totally right, man.
So anyway, but yeah, you were talking about flamenco and the whole Bible, where he
Okay.
placed it.
Well, historically, okay. Before I get into all this, about 500 years ago in Europe, as a kind of conclusion to the Renaissance period, this was when our historical worldview was being assembled, and we've built on it since then in the Western society. And it's built by this guy. It started by this guy named J. Scaliger. So Flamenco calls it Scaligerian chronology, which he means mainstream chronology,
Uh-huh.
mainstream history.
Okay.
Okay. In Scaligerian chronology, there's three Roman empires. There's the Roman Republic. Then, when it expanded, it became the Roman Empire. It collapsed, became the Holy Roman Empire through religion. But then that split up into East and West. So there's like three eras of Roman empires. But what Fomenko is saying, he introduced me to a concept called phantom reflections. And what that means is like one person being recorded in different languages and through their aliases. And a good parallel to that would be like Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, or Eminem, or say like the great white rapper, or just like an alias or something like that,
Okay.
where he's saying one guy could be recorded under multiple languages, like King Basil. Basil just means king, and so when you have the basilica, that means like the king's castle. It's not necessarily somebody's name, but it was recorded there was like multiple entries that extended the timeline. So when there's multiple Roman empires, those are actually historical echoes of one.
Oh,
And that was the Eastern Byzantine Empire that lasted up to 1435 with the fall of Constantinople. And it's this empire that's reflected further back in time. And it's this empire, it's the events of this empire that the Bible is talking about. And this, according to Fomenko, his name was Andronicus, and he was crucified. He was a king, and his father was named Emperor Manuel, and that's why it's dated to that era. And same with like the East and Western Roman empires, those were the kingdoms of Judah and Israel. Those are being reflected further back because of different languages. People could write about somebody from different countries, Russia or Egypt or
yeah.
Rome, and they could be recorded. Okay, but let me back up a little bit. We know about Genghis Khan and the supposed Mongol invasion in the Mongol Empire in the 1200s. That was, according to Fomenko, Horde Russia being unified. And it was actually George the Conqueror, a Russian czar, that united all of Russia and went into Egypt and went into Eastern Europe. And when we talk about Egypt, I'm not saying the pyramids and the Sphinx itself,
Okay.
because those astronomically date back to 10,000 BC. But the pharaoh cultures, those people and their dynasties, they're actually from that wave of the Mongol Empire of the 1200s going west, and the Valley of the Kings and those mummies, they were the royal cemetery of this empire because of the humidity and the abilities to preserve these royals. And so their zodiacs, their hieroglyphics, again, they're promoted on like the mythology of it and the story, like Osiris dying and Isis piecing him back together except for his penis, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, being the father of Horus, all that stuff. They'll they'll concentrate on that, the storytelling
Yeah.
of the hieroglyphics, at the expense of the chronology, because those symbols are talking about a planet being in this constellation, or a full moon, or an eclipse, and that's what Fomenko dates. He's dating like the Valley of the Kings zodiacs, and I took some notes. I'll read off a couple of them for you. The round zodiac of Dendera, that indicates the date of the morning of March 25th, 1185 AD. And then the lower zodiac of Athribis, that dates February 9th, 10th to 1268 AD. And then the Theban zodiac of Heinrich Brüsch, Demotic editions, November 18th, 1861. Without Rods, October 6th and 7th, 1841 AD. The Boat horoscope, February 15th, 1853. And that's strange. You know, cuz the Pharaoh Egypt stuff's supposed to go back to like 2000
Yeah.
BC or more. Uh, but that's the level of what's going on. Like Russia, in many ways, fits the bill of Atlantis, because they established so much civilization going, like through Greece and Prussia all the way up into the Balkans and the Germans, and like this gets into Julius Caesar. Fomenko saying that Caesar actually came from Tsar, and that Tsar didn't come from Caesar, that it's the other way around, and that his legacy is actually this Horde Russia legacy. And that another thing is America. We know about Columbus and Western Europe discovering America from the east in 1492, but what about Russia discovering it from the west?
Right.
And this gets into like the 1700s and the 1800s, when Alaska and California and Oregon and Washington, it simply wasn't mapped yet. Like the British Navy and stuff, they weren't able to land and map the coastline of the Pacific Northwest, because Horde Russia was still there. And they were held out in Siberia, and Pugachev, they were defeated in 1773. And that's when, we had the American Revolution in 1776, because this territory was now up for grabs by any imperial power that could settle it. And so it was like the American Revolution was to get people to the Pacific Northwest on foot from the east, instead of by boat from the
Okay.
west. And so that's why this is so controversial, because this changes the history of America and Russia come into California, you know, that name California, like a Muslim
Hmm.
caliph, California, you know, and Pugachev and stuff and Horde Russia, they documented having established trade routes with Mexico. And so this Horde Russia, it's now getting popular as Tartarians, but that just meant the cavalry. It's a word for Horde Russia's cavalry. They're known as Tartary, but it's really Horde Russia. And so the Bible and stuff like that, you know, Russia plays a big part because we know they have the Eastern Orthodox Church. Russia's very Christian. It's a different persuasion of Christianity, but this all these events that happened with the fall of Constantinople in 1453 and you know the unification of Russia in the 1200s through Genghis Khan or George the Conqueror, and the Bible went through a lot of revisions and edits in the 1500s because of the Protestant Reformation, when the Protestants were splitting off from the Catholics. And then also, that was when it was being translated into English, you know, the King James
Yeah.
authorized version. There was a lot of censorship, and a lot of this stuff was going down in that time frame because it was a major rebellion. And also the heliocentric movement, again, getting into astronomy, that was the same movement as the Protestant Reformation. It was a Catholic response to the Protestant Reformation. So that's why the Bible is so hard to cut through because there's so many layers of deception and propaganda to sift through.
Yeah, definitely. Cause yeah, I mean, I know certain people try to use the Bible like as a piece of history. Like the only thing I really know that's the most historically accurate thing in the Bible is about the building of the first temple with King
Mm-hmm.
Cyrus, because that actually does have, I think, the dates in there. But yeah, I mean, they built it what in Turkey, and I know
Mm-hmm.
in Turkey at that time there was no Christianity. There was, I believe, it's called it's the first monotheistic religion. I can't think of the name right now, but
Was that
yeah,
Zoroastrianism or
yeah.
something?
So the first Christians would basically be Zoroastrian. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things. And then I know, which was weird about King Cyrus, wasn't he like supposedly tied to what is it to? And I forgot, it was some whole weird spill just about that. But
Yeah, I know a little about that. And that's
mhm,
Babylon. And Saddam Hussein was restoring Babylon because Babylon
yeah,
is in Iraq. Coincidentally, you know, uh, which I said that facetiously. It's
yeah,
not a coincidence.
you can.
uh,
For those who know,
the Bible contains a lot of great truth, and it's not in my case to ask somebody, oh, do you believe it or not? It's not that simple.
I always ask,
Um,
I always kind
something
of
I
go, do you believe in it literally, or do you see that it's like a very cryptic type book? Like there's more to it than just reading it and trying to take it per face value.
right. And there's people in both of those camps, and I guess I'm more in the cryptic side of it,
As I am, as
where
I
it's
am.
got and I I guess how I like to word it is I think it contains truths. I think it contains truth, and I think with the worldview, as far as like astronomy, you know what I mean. I know you're not too into the flat Earth thing, but the Bible is very pro flat Earth, and geocentrism. It says the Earth is motionless and that the
Okay.
sun is what moves. And those were the issues that were thrown into limbo in the 1500s with heliocentrism, because it wasn't that they proved curvature. They didn't prove Earth being round. They thought with telescopes that they proved the sun moved around the Earth.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that the Earth moved around the sun instead of the sun moving around the Earth. That was the big like middle finger to the church, because that was when for the first time its authority was chipped away at. That was like the blasphemy right there, like that the Bible is wrong and that science is right. Um, where okay, I would lean towards the Bible being right in that case, and that doesn't mean I'm anti-science because that's become a religious term nowadays.
Definitely.
I am pro-science, but
Has it?
science is a series of corrected mistakes. It's not a
No.
belief to
And it
believe
has
in.
its gatekeepers just like any other thing now. Everyone has, oh, that
Right.
dude, this, we don't like him, so we'll just say he's doing his pseudoscience and just to discredit you just because they already
Yep.
know they have popular belief on their side.
Right. Exactly. And I think it was Julius Caesar. He said people willingly believe what they wish to be
Yep.
true. And man, that hits it right there. Uh, so that Horde Russia thing and Fomenko and that whole different historical view, that it seems, my research is incomplete, but it seems that after the flood, like that the Bible
Yeah.
recorded as Noah's flood, that that the first civilization after that was actually Russia,
Okay.
and that they kind of went around all over again. But okay, the Romanovs in that same, where I was talking about the 1500s, the upheaval from the Protestant Reformation and the heliocentric movement, that unrest in Western Europe caused unrest in Horde Russia, where Western Europe was able to sponsor the Romanov family taking over what was previously known as Horde Russia. And that's when the Romanov dynasty, when you go all the way up to World War One in the 19
Uh-huh.
teens, when Tsar Nicholas was assassinated, they were installed in the 1500s all the way up to the 1900s. Well, they destroyed all of old Russia's writings, Horde Russia, and that's where like Mongolia. It's from the Greek word megalion, which just means the mass or the mob or the horde, and that's what pre-Romanov history or Russia was known
Okay.
as. Well, this civilization might have been really really advanced and making like architecture here in America and through Egypt and Eastern Europe and that era. There's a lot of like great technology, and like I said, my research is incomplete, but it looks like there's a whole lot of adventure for somebody that wanted to research it in that way, like Russia's influence on the Americas, because who knows, maybe they went down to Peru and messed with the Incas and stuff. I don't know. I need to like I have a lot of
Yeah.
things to like resolve with this Fomenko perspective. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So, so when you say the architect, are you talking about just like pyramids? And because I know they're finding those on every continent now.
Yeah. Not I didn't have that in mind specifically, but yes. And the story of Mexico, I'm of the opinion that Mexico is oppressed because it's historically so rich that it stands to rewrite the human history narrative. And I think that's why it's kept down because they just don't want its truth to see the light of day.
That's, yeah,
And yes, like the pyramids, their astrology, their astronomy, their hieroglyphics. I don't think Fomenko's dated their hieroglyphics. I know they've been dated, but like I'm saying, just because you saw on Ancient Aliens, they said the
yeah,
Mayans happened in this year or that year, that doesn't make it true. They say that the Egyptians seeded the Mayans, but what if the Mayans seeded the Egyptians? What if it goes the other way around? Because
it does.
chronology matters, and a lot of our chronology we simply don't know. It hasn't been approached scientifically until Fomenko. I mean, a lot of it is on the like a paper
Yeah,
trail
they use
level
the carbon dating
where
thing,
we
which they say it's not
and that
even
yeah,
that
but that's another
accurate
thing.
from what I've researched.
Right, right. If you find a candle that's lit and you wanted to determine when it was lit, you can't do that without making some assumptions. You'd have to assume you knew how long the candle was when it was lit, and you'd have to assume the melting rate was constant. So just on an algebraic level, with the variables and constants involved, carbon dating is a very circular conformation with artifacts an artifact's position in the geologic column, where they find a stone or a fossil in like the sedimentary stripes on the side of the Grand Canyon. They corroborate that with carbon dating results because they throw out half of the results that they get. And so it's like we have fossils dating rocks and rocks dating fossils. And we have the geologic column dating carbon dating and carbon dating the geologic
Just
column. You see
yeah,
what I mean? It's like it's,
it's not like set a yeah, it's not
we're
set in
chasing our
stone to
tails.
be funny with it, cause
Exactly, man. So I want to, if I get a chance, I want to try to get a hold of Fomenko. I don't even think he speaks
pro-
English, dude, to be honest,
probably
but I
not.
want to try to get a hold of him. I want to ask him about the Mayan hieroglyphics because there's got to be
And
chronology
that's another thing.
in those.
You never hear nothing about archaeology or archaeological finds in Mexico. You don't hear about their history very much. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot
Yep.
there. I know supposedly, what is it, the Mayans or what was it, the Inca that just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth?
See, I've heard that about the Mayans, and I tried to look into that, and I couldn't find too much. But yeah, I've heard that about the
Um,
Mayans and the Anasazi. I think in the Southwest United States is a culture that disappeared. They don't know where they went either. Yeah, there's a lot of mysteries here, and the New World, quote unquote, man, it's controlled. It's like our timeline and how we think of the history here pre-Columbus. You know, it's way different, dude. We know that the Chinese were sailing
mhm,
here to Mexico. We know that the
yeah,
Vikings were coming here. There's evidence that there's
Africa.
Africans here. Uh, Horde Russia, coming here. There was a lot of people coming here before Columbus. I suspect the Phoenicians, maybe even
Yeah.
the Hindus, in India and stuff. And I think that term Indian and like even Maya, though Maya is a word that's also found
Yeah.
in India. It means
Huh.
the illusion, and other terms like Nagas and Nagwals. Those are like serpent
Yeah, the
creatures
Nagas.
that live underground. In both of those, right, right. Uh, First off, Columbus had maps of the Americas. He knew exactly where he was going. He wasn't. It wasn't a shot in the dark, and he
Yeah.
tripped over India. We love to think that he was just
Mm,
stupid, but he wasn't stupid, even though he was
fucked
evil
up,
or
whatever. Yeah.
whatever. he was fucked up, but he also wasn't an idiot because he was a powerful explorer, on behalf of powerful people, and they
Do
don't get
certain,
idiots
yeah.
to do that work
As
for them.
they like to put in
Right.
the song that we used to
Uh,
sing probably back in grade school and shit.
yeah, man. Uh, where I think he called them Indians because he knew East India
Okay.
had been there a long time ago. I think he called them Indians by heritage, not by geography. But
That's,
that's another
yes,
that's a
definitely,
that's
yeah.
another one right
Because,
there.
yeah, supposedly the only reason they sent him off was something about he had a criminal record or something. But like you said, he already had his little, like, he had his sailing experience. And but yeah, that's like you said, man. Everything as far as human history, like no one actually really knows. They just pretend they do, for sure.
Yep. And we love to look at people like Columbus, like, oh, he was just an idiot, or we love to look at other people like, oh, they were just too dumb. But I think that says a lot about us and our vanity today, and it's been said, if you're easily offended, that you're easily manipulated. But I think the system today relies a lot on flattery, because if you're easily flattered, you're easily manipulated. And this education system and this media, it loves to flatter your vanity. It loves to tell you this is how smart people think, and you want to be on the winning team, don't you? This is what an intelligent person considers true, and that flatters us. We want to feel smart, and we're okay with feeling smart at the expense of someone else, and thinking someone else is dumb. And we think the mainstream media or education might have it wrong in the details, but we still lap up their general direction of how they're saying it went down. And we think they just got the details wrong,
Yeah.
but really they got the whole direction wrong. And getting back to that geologic column, the sedimentary stripes on the side of the Grand Canyon or wherever, a fossil found at a shallower depth is considered to be younger than a fossil found at a deeper depth. Well, there's been anatomically modern human beings like us found further down in the geologic column than the first pre-humans, older than Homo erectus and Homo habilis, and like in the dinosaur period. And we deserve to know about that evidence when we're young men and women in high school, in
Oh,
science class, learning about human origins. We deserve to know about those cataloged finds. And they weren't found by people that drop acid and have visions or anything like that. They were found by collegiate Darwinists that were looking for dinosaur fossils and like, oh, what's a human
yeah.
being doing here? See what I mean? Like, ultimately, getting into the Bible and history and all this stuff, in my case, it's ultimately about journalism and history and our access to good journalism and good history, because we don't, like, whether our opinions are right or wrong, we don't even have access to all the information to like make you know what I mean?
No.
We're not even at that level where, so that's where I feel passionate about, like, just passing over other things where it's like, make of it what you can, dude, because
Because
this is what
cause
I
everything
found,
we're fed now is just either something you have to memorize or somehow gets you emotional and strokes your ego in one way or the other. And no one, I don't know, like, no one wants to go against the system and be like, you're wrong here. And like, it's just, yeah, it's like, it's almost a closed, like you said, it's open, closed, and they don't want you to question anything. They're just like, come on our side and feel like you're intelligent. And
Yep.
And yeah, like you said,
Yep.
young kids are very impressionable. So they should know like all this information out here about history, and then just how, like, something that really blew my mind was what is it's the I want to say the I can't even, man, I cannot think of none right now, but the holographic universe, like, sort of thing. That kind of blew my mind when I was
Oh
like
yeah.
in my 20s,
Yeah.
man. Like, whoa. Like, just show a kid that what is it, the quantum wave theory thing? Yeah, yeah.
The
The
dual slit
helix, like, kids
experiment.
need to
Yeah, dude.
really be taught to have an open mind more than anything.
Yeah, man. I agree. My awakening. I'm 38 years old now, but back when I was 25, that British author
Okay.
David Icke crossed my path. Some of the
Yeah.
homies showed me one of his lectures, and he said this quote. You kind of touched on it, so I'll just say it. He goes, "I have a simple, passionate belief that people deserve all access to all information available, and not just that which the few allow the many to have. And once that's done, I'm off to the bar, because not only do I not care what people think, it's more than that. It's none of my business what people make of the things I say. It's theirs. It's called freedom," unquote. And David Icke, man, he was an important person for me back in the day, and he's how I found out about the holographic universe. And man, if you guys got time, I got a story
Well, definitely,
about
man.
that.
We got a little more
Uh,
time.
all right, all right. So there's a author. She's popular out there in the scene
Yep,
too,
heard
named
of her.
Esther Hicks. You probably heard of her. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Law of Attraction and stuff like that. I got the book Asking It Is Given, and this was when I was reading a lot of books, back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s era. So I had this guitar because I was a performing musician and stuff on the local level, and it's called the Ibanez SZ320, and there's different tiers of quality, like a SZ420, a SZ520, and then the top shelf is known as the Prestige. And so I read this book, Asking It Is Given, and it basically talked about this world being energetic and vibrational, and it's saying that if you wanted to manifest something, it's like plotting a course on your map, but without landmarks and freeways and signs, it's easy to get lost in the middle of the desert on your way to your point. Like walking from San Diego to Las Vegas, it's easy to get sidetracked. Well, this book said that your conscience of what you consider right and wrong, internally, your internal conscience, not
Yeah.
what you could physically get away with, but what you personally consider right and wrong. She says that your conscience is your compass to navigate through that desert, and that you'll actually walk to your manifestation energetically in a couple weeks. So I tried this as an experiment. I'm like, okay, I want another guitar that could be a backup to my Ibanez SZ320, but I want the Prestige. And so that was what I cast out into the universe. I plotted that point on my map. I was like, I want an Ibanez SZ Prestige to serve as a backup to my main guitar, like, so it'd be interchangeable. And so I conducted myself conscionably. I mean, I'm in the habit of doing that since my awakening, anyways. But and then coincidentally, a couple weeks uh, went by, but I watched that movie, The Prestige, with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, and I found out what that word actually means, and it means the return of something, the conclusion of a magic trick, like when you make the rabbit disappear. Bringing the rabbit back is the prestige, when you show the audience that you brought the rabbit back, and that's when the
Right.
performance is concluded. Okay. So I learned that that's what that word meant. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good to know. I just asked the universe to manifest me this prestige guitar. It's good to know what the word means finally. Well, there's an iconic electric guitar known as a Gibson Les Paul Gold Top. It's kind of like a red Corvette
Yeah.
of guitars. You know, everybody knows what a red Corvette is. But I used to have one and I sold it off. So this was a guitar of mine that was gone. But coincidentally, in this 2 week period, Christmas vacation came around and I was visiting my mom. And the website that I get my instruments from had a clearance sale. They had the Ibanez SZ320, the same guitar that I already had, but in a limited edition gold top color version. And it was marked down on clearance because most people weren't going to appreciate that color on that guitar. Where I was like blown away. And my mom was like, if you put up half the money, I'll put up the other half. And I was thinking to myself, holy shit, I actually manifested this guitar into my life. I used to have a gold top, like a Prestige, and it's a backup 320. It's interchangeable. It's everything I requested. Um, but when I got back home, my roommates were watching the History Channel Modern Marvels, and it was about magnets. And the package arrived, and I'm opening the package while they're watching TV in the living room, and the credits are rolling. The episode's ending, and there's a refrigerator with magnets on it, and there's a magnet. I have a tattoo of Einstein where he's sticking
Yeah.
his tongue out. It's like a well-known picture of Einstein. Yeah, I have a tattoo of that, and there's a magnet of that picture on this refrigerator, and then touching that magnet was a gold top Les Paul guitar, was touching the Einstein face. Like as I'm opening the package, like it was like the Matrix giving me a wink and an elbow, like, you know, you manifested this guitar. Most people won't believe you. You go ahead and try and tell them. We don't care. But okay, before we move on, I want to add a little anecdote. I didn't get literally word for word the Ibanez Prestige. I got the emotional answer. So that's the little fine print, okay? If you put out that, oh, I want to meet Pamela Anderson or Britney Spears or something like that, or Kim Kardashian, I want to marry Kim Kardashian. You're not going to meet her literally, but you're going to meet a chick
Yeah.
that's going to drive you crazy. You know, like if you ask for a double Whopper with cheese, you're not going to literally get a double Whopper with cheese from Burger King. You
Yeah.
you might get a big
Or
Carl from Carl's
Pamela,
Jr. I
or
don't
your
know,
that
but
Kim Kardashian will bring
it's
you a
still
double cheeseburger she made, sort of deal.
yeah. So the universe does answer. We're not hopeless. We're not here left on our own. You know what I mean? Like what some call prayer or meditation. That is real. You can't expect the news to tell you about that. You can't expect education to tell you about that. And where I've come, it's like I can't even be mad at them for not telling me that, because that's like getting mad at
Uh-huh.
your bank teller for not doing your income taxes. That's that's not their job. Like society's job
Pull
isn't
you
to
away.
enlighten you. Society's job is to main right, or to maintain their own security, to look out for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is a choose your own adventure world, and
Yeah.
no deposit, no
If you
return.
don't know, we're not. Yeah. Basically, we ain't gonna tell you.
Yeah, you got a quest. You got a quest for your own enlightenment, because nobody could walk
It's
the
definitely
Siddhartha
true.
path for
Because
you.
I mean, like you said, you can choose your own adventure. You can either just automate it and coast through, your 9 to 5s and live your mundane life, or you can choose to do something different, believe different things, and just open your mind up, as well as your spirit or soul, or whatever you
Yep.
want to call it.
Yeah, man. There's See, I have deep love for the Bible. I can't consider myself, a mainstream Christian like that, but I think there's a lot of great wisdom, a lot of great truth, a lot of great messages in it. When Jesus said, "Keep your yes meaning yes and your no meaning no," that's really powerful stuff right there. And uh, prayers being
Yeah,
answered, or like healings and stuff. That's real, dude. Like, you ask around, there's somebody in your life that's had a paranormal experience like that, because this stuff's out there. It doesn't get any airtime, but there's a lot of pressure on what we're supposed to believe and not believe, because we then go manifest it into this world. And like, when you're talking about the cryptic and the deeper levels of the Bible, when it's in my opinion, when it's talking about cattle and sheep, I
yeah,
interpret that as
definitely.
the age of Taurus and Taurians, and Aries, the ram, and worshippers of that era, because that's what seems to have caused the Exodus, was the Passover from Taurus into Aries. There was like infighting. So like, but that you're not going to get that on televangelist. You know what I mean? Like today, if you turned on the TV and there was Joel Osteen or something, he's not going to tell you there's astrology in the Bible. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
not.
he's just gonna tell
And
you
or maybe he
whatever,
is. I don't know him that well, but
whatever you want. What is it called? They call it the good word or something. The good news. That's basically what they pretty much go on
yeah,
now, and it's just, yeah, and it's just like some
obedience.
regurgitated thing, and yeah, no one gets nowhere with that. Which, like you said, I can appreciate. I love the Bible myself too, because when people cultists, so when people try to shit on the Bible, I'm like, bro, the Bible is like way deeper than you could possibly imagine. Just because it was compiled from, I believe it was compiled from a bunch of other societies or civilizations, and it all got compiled into that one book.
Hmm.
And like you said, it has astrology. I mean, there's spells in there if you want to believe it. It tells you how to manifest, meditate. Everything is in there. It's just how you read it and how you
Yep.
interpret things.
Yep. And I think, you know, as far as biology, I can't say I'm an old world creationist, but the Darwinist paradigm, I do not believe in that anymore. Like with the Cambrian explosion and stuff, how they say all these creatures appeared, and when they appeared, like
Oh yeah,
birds coming after reptiles and stuff. Like, it's strange how they purposely like contradicted the Bible and put it the other way around. But as imperfect as a Christian person could be, I think the Bible has a more accurate worldview. You know what I mean? When it comes to the origin of species and the historical view,
mm,
or say like astronomical view, I think as human as a religious person can be, they are actually closer to the truth than a mainstream college Darwinist, Einsteinist, globe earther, space cadet.
hey, so
You
be
know,
it.
and that's gonna ruffle
Every,
some feathers,
I feel everyone should
but
have an open mind and
it is what it
at
is,
least
dude.
look into everything. Cause at the end of the day, I don't know shit, man. I'm just here to
Yep.
learn and experience it.
Yeah.
Well, man, on that note, man,
Exactly,
we
man.
and I definitely, love to talk to you again, and but
Hell yeah, man.
we're about to hit that hour mark. Did you all want to promote anything or throw anything out there?
Nah, I would just recommend, a David Icke book to the listener out there. Try to get yourself David Icke, Tales from the Time Loop, maybe Asking It Is Given by Esther Hicks, and New Chronology by Anatoly Fomenko. And just keep going, man. Keep learning. Keep growing. And,
And I'm gonna suggest
that's
you
that's
check
that's it,
out
man.
Holographic Universe. I think Michael Talbot did that one. And yeah, this is the We Are the Great
Mm-hmm.
Movement podcast. It's Copycat the Great with my guest Miklo Tesla. So, but yeah, like I said, man, I'd love to have you on again.
Right on. I'd love to come back, dude. This was a pleasure, dude. I've known you for a long time, and this is a long time
Definitely,
in the
man.
works.
I'll keep in touch with you, man. So you have a great one, and everyone out there listening, you also have a great one. All right, peace.